Bonjour, it's Anne. I'm sitting in the garden today because it's one of the first real spring or even summer day that we've had in Switzerland. So you might hear birds and maybe also the neighbor mowing their lawn. Hopefully he's on the other side of the house now, so it's not going to cover me. Okay, so I want to go on with my critique of my native roar Etsy shop, which is Marcos, one of Marcos' shops. So I talked a little bit about general branding yesterday, and I want to go on with branding. So right now I'm looking for the about section. Of course, at the moment Etsy is making tests, and so they're moving the about section around a little bit, and so it might not be easy to find. So on my screen today it's under the reviews, so you have to scroll down all the way and go past the reviews, and then the about section is underneath there. Let's see if there is a link here. There isn't a link directly to the about section, but I think from if I click on the here. Oh no. Okay, well, so it's strange at the moment there doesn't seem to be a direct link to the about section except underneath your reviews here. But the about section is important on Etsy because your customers on Etsy want to be able to connect with the makers. If they wanted to buy from an anonymous big company, they would go to Amazon, okay? And so if they are on Etsy, it means that they're interested in handmade, they're interested in designers and creators, people who do things. And so if they're going to buy from you, and if they're going to create a lasting relationship with you, because ultimately what you would like is to turn them into return customers, because return customers buy more than first-time customers. And they also cost less to keep as customers rather than finding new customers. So the about section is important because it's an opportunity to give them a connection with you, okay, with your shop. And so here we do have a very good about section, I think, because it is about how the shop, My Native Roar, can bring something to the customers. And as I said in the previous video, it's important. You know, it's not just about you and what you do, it's about what the customer can get out of it. So, for example, phrases like promote indigenous pride, this is a very positive statement, and it will speak to the customers, okay? So make sure that your about section is as most as possible about the benefits that you can bring to the customers. There has to be a little bit of you inside it, of course, about why you do what you do, but it really is about the customer. Everything is about the customer. Okay, so try to phrase it so that the customers will see immediately what they will get out of it. And I think this is a good example, really. So I'm going to let you read all this. Here you see, be strong, be happy. This is a very good tagline. It's really, it talks to the customer really directly. Okay. And also, let me scroll down to the bottom, because I also like the way Marcos presented the shop members. Okay, it's so it's Marcos and Bernice, I guess, husband and wife, and the children here, and of course the children may not really be working in the shop, but it's a very good marketing idea to have the the neighbor is coming back with the lawnmower, so you might hear him a little bit. It's very good to have the smiling children here, I think it's a nice touch. I also like that, you know, on Etsy, if you're working with a production partner, which means you're a designer, but the actual production is done by a partner, like, for example, um, print on demand, if you're not the one printing directly, then you have to list the production partners, of course, and you have a choice whether to disclose who they are to the customers. You have to absolutely disclose to the customer that there is an outside production partner. You don't necessarily have to say their name here, but here they're very open. They have stated anything. They say where everything. I mean, they say where the print on demand partner is located, and for me, this brings trust in the relationship with the shop owner. You know, when a shop tries to uh, hide a lot, I'm not that ready to trust them. Okay, so that's the first thing. Uh, so that's about the about section. I was going to look at the policies here, and I'm not seeing any specific policies. And I think this is something that might deter some customers, because in policies, people want to know, the first thing they want to know is whether they will be able to return their products if for some reason either it doesn't fit or it's not what they thought it would be. And not having this clearly stated, or having somewhere stated, which is not the case here, that you don't accept returns, can be a deal breaker for many customers. So here, I think this is this section needs to be worked on and carefully, so that you have all the policies obvious to the customers right away. Okay. And one thing, for example, that you might want to know if you're in the US, because um, it's possible that US sellers don't know that. If you're selling outside the US, and in particular to Europe and Switzerland, then there is a policy, a law in the European Union that items in any purchase made over the internet, people have a right to retract. I think it's for 14 days after the purchase was made, or maybe it's for 14 days after the item was received. I just need to check that. So let's go. I'll just open another window and let's see. So it's the EU internet returns. I don't know exactly how it's in English. I know what it's called in French. Guarantee and return. If you buy goods in a shop. No, this is not it. Okay, consumer rights in the EU. It's important even if you're in the US, if you ship to the EU, because it applies to all purchases. It doesn't matter if the shop is located in the EU or not. It matters where the customer is located. Okay, so where is it? Okay. Your right to cancel and return an order. Okay, it's called the 14 days cooling off period in English. Okay, so you have the right to return purchases made online or through other types of distance selling within 14 days for a full refund. You can refund for any reason, even if you simply changed your mind. Okay, and of course there are some exemptions, like perishable goods and travel things, and of course digital content. And also, it doesn't apply to goods bought from a private individual rather than a company. But if you have an Etsy shop, that would be considered a company. So this doesn't apply. Okay. And you will have to refund for any reason everything that the customer paid. So you might want to make sure first that your shop complies with this, that you're aware of it, and then you have to decide if you're not located in the EU or in Switzerland, because this applies also to Switzerland. Whether you want to ship to the EU, because you have to be aware of that. Okay, actually it's to protect customers from deciding too quickly on a purchase, because it's easy. Actually, it came about a while ago when there was an abuse from the people selling things over the phone to mainly to old people who didn't really know, and they would get talked into buying something and then realize they didn't want it, or it was more expensive than they would have thought. And so the sellers usually push for people to buy, and people who are not very savvy in terms of marketing and sales can get pushed into buying things that they will regret, because either they don't have the money or they don't need it, or it was at the limit of scamming. And that's why the government decided to introduce a law which protected citizens from too quick decisions. Okay, that's why it is. And so internet purchases actually fit into that category. And wherever you're located, if your customer is in the EU, then you have to um, follow this law. So you don't really have a choice there. Okay, so here the shop policies really need to be stated. And when you're on Etsy, it's quite easy to actually do your shop policies, because there's a template that you can use, and you can also add little things to the template. So let me go to my shop. And I have to go to my the shop front, because you can edit the policies from the shop front, I think. Okay, so I probably have to scroll down to the policies here, shop policies. Okay, and then you can edit them from here. Okay, so this is first you have the processing time, estimated shipping time. This is estimated, okay, not actual guaranteed shipping times, digital downloads, payment options, okay, returns and exchanges, shipping to Europe. So there's actually Etsy is actually giving you a little heads up on that here, okay. Cancellations, following items can't be. Okay, and then there is this thing which not many people see. There's a little plus sign here, and if you click on it, you will have the opportunity to add something to your policy. So you don't just have to use Etsy's template. You can actually add something here if you have specific requirements for exchange changes or returns or anything you want your customers to be aware of. Okay, so make sure that you notice this. It's under terms and conditions and right of withdrawal, and anything extra you want to add, you can add here in that box. Okay, so I don't want to change my policy, so I'm just going to go back and go back to native roar here. Okay, so as I said, the shop policies are really an important part because it will be a deal breaker for many people. Many people are scared of buying online if they don't have some kind of guarantee. And here you only have the payment methods accepted and there's nothing else. And so that might be something that really needs to be looked into. Okay, so that's all for today. And don't forget to subscribe before you go, so that you know when I post the next installment. And I'll see you later. Bye. Au revoir.